Good morning, Jim.
Morning, Jay.
All right, Jim. So the Twins got beat by the Braves yesterday, 8-6 in 10 innings. Jhoan Duran got hit again hard in the 10th inning. Your thoughts on Duran and this latest Twins loss?
Yeah, it feels like things are falling apart. Just a series of horrific losses. And last night, they have a great comeback against a very good team. Then Duran gives it up in the 10th. I've seen it before. Sometimes closers just don't pitch as well in non-save situations. That's what he's doing this year. He's been excellent in save situations. When he pitches in non-save situations, he absolutely gets crushed. It shouldn't happen. It does. And I remember talking to Eddie Guardado about it once. Said you can't invent the same adrenaline that you're used to when you come in to save a game and the music's pumping and you're kind of like, you feel like you're 3 outs from saving. It's just not, it's not quite the same. Now it's an excuse. It's also, something I've heard from a number of different closers. But another horrible loss. It's, again, there are losses. You're going to lose games in baseball. You don't want the horrible, gut-wrenching losses that make you feel like you're not competitive anymore. And boy, they've had a bunch of those lately.
And we've got a shared lead in the division because the Royals beat the Guardians again. So Kansas City and Cleveland leading the Twins by 2.5 games. Thoughts on the Royals tying the Guardians?
I mean, we know they're good. You didn't know if they're going to hold together. When they were in Minnesota last, it looked like their pitching was starting to wear down a little bit, and now they've bounced back. To pull the camera way back, this is what makes baseball races great. We have no idea what's going to happen day to day. We have no idea what's going to happen down the stretch. Every day is dramatic. You're scoreboard watching. The Royals, I love the way they play, and I love the way they developed Witt, signed him long-term. They're going to keep him. They're building around him. You got a Hall of Fame catcher in Salvi Perez. They've developed pitching, found pitching in other ways. And they have the highest run differential in the division. I think they have the second highest run differential in the league, in the American League. So it's not flukish. They're really good, and then you have the Guardians who, I always felt like they were overachieving. Maybe this is their correction that they're falling apart. The Twins, I mean, they've lost games a lot of different devastating ways lately. You just wonder if they were a little healthier. If they had Buxton, Correa, and maybe Brock Stewart or Joe Ryan, if they would have won their share of those games instead of just having them all end in horrific losses. But it's still more about math than emotions. They're 2.5 games out. That is, not an impossible margin to make up. They're still 4 games ahead in the wild card race. It's really hard to watch them play right now. You feel like something bad is about to happen. And they have dropped their ESPN percentage that they're going to make the playoffs from about 93 a while ago to 86 now. They're still probably going to make the playoffs if they just can pull out of this.
Royce Lewis continues to struggle at the plate. He's now batting .258. He was 0 for 5 last night. We see him just be great, especially in key moments. Is he just battling injury, or is this just a slump for him?
I'm told that groin is a constant problem, that he comes in every day early to work it out and kind of stretch it out. It's not, but I also see him just not taking great at bats right now. The groin, an injury that you're trying to hide can lead to a slump, no doubt. Maybe he's not swinging as well because it bothers him. But he also is doing what most hitters do in slumps. He's expanding the zone. He's swinging out of the zone. He's swinging at pitches he probably can't hit. When he's on, hitters talk about this too. They say, it feels like when you're swinging well, you're always ahead in the count. And you're always sitting on your pitch. And it feels like when you go in a slump, all of a sudden you're always 1-2, 0-2, and you're having to swing at whatever the pitcher throws up there. You see that a lot with Royce right now. He might miss a hittable pitch early in the count, and then he falls behind, and then he doesn't get another good pitch to hit. It's kind of the art of putting together a bat, and usually he's great at it. Right now, this is the definition of a slump. He's just everything's going wrong for him.
Jim, when you look at, Simeon Woods Richardson gave up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings. He's been mostly good for him this year with a 3.85 ERA. Doesn't typically go deep into games. Your thoughts on him and his performance, especially lately?
Well, he's been a godsend for them. He's really saved their season. Last night, I thought he was nibbling a little bit too much, and maybe it's because the Braves have looked so impressive at the plate. I thought last night he was nibbling. He probably didn't get a couple calls he could have gotten that might have altered his outing. So I didn't think he pitched badly. I thought he was just a touch off.
Jim, the Vikings made their final cuts yesterday. Lewis Seen, who we kind of expected was going to get cut, he got cut. So did Myles Gaskin. Kenye Nwanwu got cut. That one kind of surprised me. Any other names stand out to you?
Nwanwu was kind of the surprise. And you know what? Maybe he shouldn't have been. Because while you can't try to judge roster developments on preseason results, because the preseason results are always meaningless, usage is a really interesting way to try to figure things out. And here they have this new kickoff rule where there are going to be more kickoffs returned, and they didn't use Nwanwu as a returner. I think he fooled people because he had that one or two big runs in the first preseason game, and he looked good out of the backfield. But they've never really felt that comfortable with him in the backfield. I don't think he picks up blitzes. He hasn't developed his hands all that well. So he can break a run every once in a while, but he's probably not a great every down back. But the fact they weren't using their most talented return guy as a return guy probably should have told us something. And, and now they're going into the season with 3 running backs on the roster. Now, that's why I always say it's not a final roster. It's, they could pick up a running back today. They could pick up a running back second week of the season. They could go in and see if they can survive with 3 running backs for a little while. We'll see. But, so again, it was a surprise. I'm not sure. I think we've been paying closer attention, maybe we wouldn't have been surprised.
Well, and one of those running backs is a fullback, C.J. Ham.
Yep. And he can run the ball, short yard situations. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He's very versatile. He's a very good player. But I would think that they're going to, they're either going to add somebody to the practice squad they can call up if they need them, or go out and get a running back in the next couple of days.
I talked to you about this yesterday, that Brevin Spanford, the former Gopher, St. Cloud Tech grad,
yes,
he made the team. He made the Dallas Cowboys, at least for now. I mean, we always talk about, these rosters can be fluid, but at least for now, he's on the 53-man roster. Yeah,
it's and you know what? The Cowboys have all kinds of problems, and they've won a championship in forever. And Jerry Jones drives people crazy, and they have Dak's contract to deal with, but they do have a good roster. It's always a talented team. It's always a talented team that seems to underachieve in big games. But that's actually quite an accomplishment to make that roster.
Well, and it was interesting that they ended up trading Peyton Hendershot, who was their third-string guy to the Chiefs just prior to the cutdown. So they must really like Brevin, because third-string tight end, they're typically active on game day, right?
Yeah, usually. And, there's so many ways you can use him. Extra blocker, they can design some routes for him. So he's so big, you can match him up against certain people. I'm guessing he'll play special teams. Now, we have to. There's no such thing as a final roster. Things can change hourly. It's a brutal position to be in. You think you made the NFL, your NFL team after a long, arduous training camp, and you aren't guaranteed anything. But I hope he hangs in there, because that's a cool story.
Any other cuts throughout football that stood out to you from other teams in the league?
Oh, nothing. Not really. Again, we're talking about the last spots on the roster. So, yeah, I don't know. Nothing really jumped out at me.
Okay. T.J. Hawkinson was placed on the PUP list. How long will he be out?
That means 4 weeks. And this is another thing. Another way you can get fooled by training camp. Hawkinson looked so good running on the side that a lot of people, including me, jumped to the conclusion that maybe he might be able to come back sooner than 4 weeks. Maybe they'd find a way to put him on the short-term IR. And they just did what we probably knew they were going to do before training camp, which is just be really careful with a very valuable player and keep him out at least 4 weeks. But it's another blow to this team's ability to get off to a fast start. Jefferson's starting the year with a little bit of a tender hamstring. Hawkinson isn't out there. We don't know if Addison's going to get suspended for a game. So it's not. It's going to be tough for them to survive the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season.
So both Dalton Reisner and Gabriel Murphy, linebacker, were placed on the injured reserve, eligible to return. Murphy's a guy that kind of jumped out, at least early in camp.
He did. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be in line for playing time anytime this year, but he's at the very least, he's depth and a special teamer. Reisner, this is probably a good thing that they get to keep him without actually putting him on the 53-man roster. He does have ability. He's at the very least a good backup for a unit that has had its troubles on the interior line. So, probably a good thing that he's sticking around.
Will Reichert, who is the kicker that they drafted in the 6th round, he looked pretty good in the preseason. Is there a chance that he ends up being a really good kicker?
Yes. He was a great college kicker, very accurate, close, with plenty of leg for some long attempts, made his extra points, had really good practices when they put him under pressure in camp. Now, it's kicking, you never really know, but I think they really like him.
All right, Jim, the Minnesota Lynx are going to play tonight at Phoenix. Lynx have been rolling here lately. 3rd best record in the league. Only a half game out of 2nd place. Your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, you get to face Taurasi one more time. You never know when she's going to retire or if she's ever going to retire. Griner is, a very good player. I don't know if she's been quite as dominant since her return from Russia, but she's a very good player, a multiple-time Olympian. I thought she was their best player in Tokyo. So it's not an easy matchup. You're a very good team and you're playing against a 500 team. If they hold it together mentally, and they're coming off a very emotional, 3 games and 4 game stretch. They have had a breather here where they gave the players some time off. You'd like to see them win this one. They have the longest winning streak in the league with 6 games, and they're right behind Connecticut, and their goal right now has to be winning that 2nd seed.
All right, Jim, what do you got in your podcast?
We prepped today with John Millay up. Really good up. John's always great. Really good episode about Casey O'Brien, about football coaches donating kidneys to each other. Some of the sweeter stories as prep football and sports and activity start off. It's called Preps Today with John Millay. I highly recommend that show. We'll have Dawn Mitchell's show out today. She always does a great job. And then today we're going to record the John Krasinski show on Wolves developments and also the Viking Update show on what the roster sounds like. Everything's at talknorth.com or on your favorite podcast app.
All right, Jim. Thank you. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Jay.
It's Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist, joining us every weekday morning at this time. Follow him on Twitter at SouhanStrib. Check out his latest column in the Star Tribune's podcast at TalkNorth.com. Jim, once again today, brought to you by the Green Mill in downtown St. Cloud, and today by Wimmer Opticians. Dream Getaway number 80. Let's get you your first code word of the day, and that first code word is mineral. MINERAL, mineral. Type that in. You can win a vacation of a lifetime. First code word is mineral. News from ABC is next on WJON.